Laura.
Hey, David. How's it going?
Hey, gosh, everything is amazing right now for me. I'm enjoying everything that we're doing, and I can't. Every time Wednesday rolls around, like when it gets about Tuesday, I start getting really excited. So, another guest I'm excited about, Laura, and I gotta owe it to you. You're the one bringing the amazing guests. I gotta say, like, this has been amazing. And today I talked to Mike Smith on ninoscorner.tv. He's going to come on Dark to Light. And then now we got Brad Olsen.
Yeah, totally. Oh, gosh, you brought on some truly amazing guests. And I agree. When it gets closer to the Wednesday slot, it's just like, it's energizing. I always walk away just feeling like, bringing attention to all this kind of stuff and staying a part of this greater conversation is everything. Because, our words manifest reality, and a willingness to look at the difficult stuff while knowing it's leading to a greater transformation and awakening, we have to continually remind ourselves and others of, right?
Yeah, that's the whole purpose of the show, is for truth and disclosure. And obviously we have to navigate the best we can, because we are constantly being looked at. We've lost our platforms already. We've had to rebuild, but nothing's going to stop us, because truth rises to the top. And I'm dead set on bringing this forward to people. I want everyone to learn the kind of knowledge that what Brad is going to talk about today, which is esoteric, I find this fascinating. Utterly fascinating. This is the stuff that excites me. The stuff that we're going to talk to Brad about and he's written how many books? 10?
We're going to talk about his 10th book, Beyond Esoteric, Escaping Prison Planet. And yeah, I've delved into the esoteric for so long. It's like my favorite thing, because it really gets into the potential of it all. And I love the name of the book, because, Beyond Esoteric is going into clearly our, higher potential. But then it's like, it doesn't shy away from the fact that we are dealing with this sort of prison planet, or the attempt to enslave us further than we already are.
Yeah. And then when people, the prison planet theory, or reality, I guess you could say, depending on who you talk to, I've learned quite a bit of that, quite a bit about that. And honestly, it scares the hell out of me, because I don't like to feel trapped ever. And the scariest place to be is prison. So when you start learning the reality, what really is this matrix that we live in, it is fascinating, but it also it scares me. I'm not going to lie. It's a scary topic, because how do you escape it? How do you get out of this?
Well, he's going to definitely give his perspective, and I've known him for a long time. We've been, great friends, and we have a lot of similarities as far as our research and work is concerned. And I would say, and I know he's going to, get into it, but just in relation to what you're sharing, and definitely, I think everybody's scared to a certain degree, but I feel it when your mind is free, when you're a sovereign being, regardless of what's going on around you, nobody can take that away. It's those that are mind controlled, socially engineered, and completely not operating on an authentic level that are the true ones that are enslaved. And that's why those that are sovereign and free in their minds have come in here to help usher souls into the new paradigm and be that guide. And that's what you are. And it comes naturally. So even though it freaks you out, you have to know that you don't act like it, but you're human, and at least you can admit it, because I don't think any of us don't go into that zone like you're talking about,
I've entered, and I'm not a Scientologist, okay, but they talk about the prison planet in the Church of Scientology, and they, for the little bit that I dabbled around in it, and I never became a Scientologist, so I don't want people to think I'm part of some kind of cult or anything, but I was at the Celebrity Center in Hollywood, and they invited me there quite a few times, and very nice people. I never had a bad experience there, but that's what they talk about, is the prison planet. And basically they believe in Dianetics and their system of escaping the prison planet. Also, this has to go with monks and Buddhist monks and Tibetan monks, which is all about ascension. They understand that this is a prison planet, and that's why they they go through this meditation process for their whole lives to ascend and leave the prison planet. So I found it all very fascinating when I was visiting the Church of Scientology at one point in my life. And I found it to be a little too much to digest, because it scared the hell out of me, because it makes a lot of sense that we are, I guess the prison planet is being recycled here, correct? That, I mean, you're constantly building karma and coming back, constantly building karma and coming back to this planet. Am I right? That's
but then, you know, we get to break that. We get to understand, well, what keeps us looping? What is the patterning? And when we begin to, you know, get a grip on that, I feel that's when we, you know, ascend to the next level. And so an unconscious,
do you have to be aware of, like, what I'm saying is, so when you die and you see the bright, so they all say when you pass on and you see that bright light, don't go towards the light. That's what they were telling me, that you don't go towards it. It's like a track beam that takes you up, and then they swipe you clean from your memories and give you amnesia, and then they throw you back on, basically they recycle you back on the planet. I don't.
Well, to me, we're multidimensional, and what we're experiencing here is a part of the lower ego constructs that are enslaving the part of us that's unconscious to our greater self. And we've been taught that and indoctrinated. And as long as we believe in those things, as long as we're socially engineered or mind controlled on any level, or keep carrying on the ancestral patterns, we are going to keep looping. But the minute, you know, we have that breakthrough and we begin to recognize that we are a replica of the true organic planetary grid network of Gaia, and we are multidimensional beings, and we're connected to a source energy that's beyond what we've been taught. That is the true awakening that I feel helps us to exit the time loop. And we're not like victims. We're learning to create a alchemical transformation within ourselves, but we have to deal with the personality matrix and the controls put upon the ego, which hijacks our creative energy through belief systems. Once we free ourselves of the belief systems, we start to recognize, wow, we have ultimate potential. And we just have to be very careful of the kind of people that we, you know, hang around, or the sort of groups that we might join. And this is what I love about Brad, because he's like,
well, what you just said right now, this is why I love doing these shows with you, Laura. I mean, the wealth of knowledge that you have is just, wow. It's stimulating. I love it. I mean, this to me is like, I feel like a kid in the candy store every time I come on and do Dark to Light. And for everyone out there, if you want to subscribe to Dark to Light, it's on Patreon. It's Alex, and Alex is the guy in the background doing all the technical work. Alex, can you put there it is, Dark to Light show on Patreon. Please join the family. We do a every other Wednesday. It's a show just for the subscribers, and we put out a bi-weekly newsletter. Laura, is it?
If not more, but definitely guaranteed that we're going to get something out at least twice a month.
Right. Twice a month, we send out a newsletter. I talk a lot about my challenges. I have a little Nino's Corner on the newsletter where I talk about facing my demons and the sobriety issues that I have, and how the challenges that I've been given and being tested, the obstacles I'm having to clear for. I'm coming up on a year of sobriety, which is unbelievable. I cannot believe.
That's incredible.
I believe me, I would have never thought this was possible, but here I am, and my life has changed. And I do a little Nino's Corner on the newsletters, and I talk about that stuff. And basically, if I can do it, anybody can do it. And it's a support system. So we also, when we have our shows every other Wednesday, we also talk to people about anything goes. You can ask us any questions. It's a support group. We help each other. It's an awesome community. It's an awesome family, and I'm just proud to be a part of it with Laura. And Alex.
Yes, totally. Yeah, my newsletter piece it gets into the astrological, but that's just a small part of it to me. And yeah, just answering any questions and sharing anything about our own personal journey. We don't really hold back, very transparent. And, and this to me, and what we both agree upon is, this is what the transformation is about on the planet right now. We have to remember that we've been pit against each other. The conquer and divide agendas have made it very difficult. And I loved your post earlier today on Twitter. This can all bring us together. Is it going, do you want to today? That was awesome.
Here is the perfect opportunity for humanity to unite. We've been at each other's throats. The globalists want us at each other's throats. So here is the chance for humanity to unite and ascend.
Absolutely, and it's true, and that's part of the Great Awakening, and this is what it's all about. So let's go into reading about Brad and making you all more familiar with him, and then let's bring him on. What do you think?
It sounds good to me.
Okay, awesome. So Brad Olsen, my great friend, I'm so happy that you're joining us tonight. He is an award-winning author, public speaker, book publisher, and event producer. Esoteric Series is a whole bunch of books. It's actually a line of books by CCC Publishing, a website of the same name called Esoteric Series, and a YouTube channel, all launched in 2013. The Esoteric Series is book and video content devoted to all the important everything, right? And what's really awesome is he is the creator of How Weird Street Faire. Anybody who lives in California, San Francisco, or has heard about it and maybe traveled far to go to this, How Weird Street Faire is the hugely successful springtime street fair that started in front of the old CCC warehouse on Howard Street in San Francisco. Brad Olsen is also the executive director of the World Peace Through Technologies organization. CCC Publishing, I mean, he's the publisher, right? And this author. CCC Publishing is the book publishing business started by Brad Olsen. The consortium of collective consciousness began as an artist warehouse. In February 1995 by Brad Olsen and 3 American travel friends who met in Goa, India the year before. A passion. So just to kind of sum it up, and just so much. Brad Olsen is an award-winning travel writer, publisher, and producer. He gained notoriety in February 2010 when his travel guide, Sacred Places North America, 108 Destinations, second edition, won the Bay Area Travel Writers Top Gold Prize Award, several other of his books. And man, I've gotten to sit next to him at a lot of conferences, shared a lot of tables, hiked Sedona canyons, and just been an incredible journey to know you, Brad. So come on and hang out. And
hey,
there he is.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. It's really wonderful to be among kindred spirits.
Absolutely. And I mean, I have just so many questions to ask. I guess the first question I want to ask you, Brad, is how did you get started in all this? How did you get interested in all this? Could you give us just a brief synopsis on all that?
Well, Laura kind of hit a couple of those bases leading up to where I'm at now. A bit older than you, David, but I think about when I was your age, I was backpacking around the world for 3 years. And that got me started after teaching English in Japan. And then I met these Americans in Goa, India, and we started this warehouse in San Francisco in '95. And that's when I founded CCC Publishing. So my first books were all travel publishing, and they're still available. You can go to cccpublishing.com, check them out. And then my focus started going towards the esoteric. And at that point, I did these, a new line of travel guides that Laura mentioned, Sacred Places North America, then Sacred Places Around the World, Sacred Places Europe, and in my publishing capacity, did Karen Tate's book, Sacred Places of Goddess. And I keep telling Laura, we got to start getting her books published, and CCC Publishing is ready to go for you, Laura. Now that I've got Beyond Esoteric done, my 10th book. So it was basically, to answer your question, David, basically a travel beginning in my 20s, early 30s, then this warehouse. And then at the warehouse came the How Weird Street Faire in year 2000. But we had to take a COVID timeout this year. But turning lemons into lemonade, I used the time to finish Beyond Esoteric, which has been on my docket for now 6 years to get this done. The other two, Modern Esoteric, Beyond Our Senses, and Future Esoteric, The Unseen Realms, they came out, and then multiple editions of them and audiobooks. So I've been working on that, and then Leo Lion Zagami's books. And finally, I got around to getting this one done. So fast forward to today, here we are.
Yeah, that's major. So, I mean, one of the things that you talk about in this particular one is escaping prison planet. and beyond esoteric. So in a nutshell, what does that title, represent to you, and how that applies to the here and now?
Well, I liked how you guys brought that up in the setup piece, and yeah, that is the subtitle to the book. Originally, the subtitle was The Ultimate Journey, and it is. It's going beyond the esoteric. This is only things that people really in this decade can truly understand the grasp, the scope of all this, because no 19th century occultist could really even grasp what is a chemtrail. Try to explain that to someone 100 years ago. It would be about the same as trying to explain what a UFO is. So these are things that have just gone beyond the pale. It's taking us into this transhumanist future, truly against all of our will. Through the chemtrails and other means, we're being terraformed. Our body is being altered and changed against our will. And now there's so many other things that could be an affront to our health, such as something with a V that becomes mandatory. We're going into uncharted territory with all this, you guys, and we may even be evolving to human 2.0 right before our very eyes, and without our
right. But that's going to be us. That will be them merging us into the machine, correct? I mean,
yeah,
transhumanism ultimately is us merging into the machine and being more and more trapped into this matrix to where we cannot escape this prison planet. Am I right in saying that?
You got it, David. That's exactly why I chose Beyond or Escaping Prison Planet to Beyond Esoteric, because this is the real challenge that we're all going to face right now. And on the back of my first book in the series, Modern Esoteric, says the revolution is consciousness. And it's really all of our responsibility individually to wake up to this stuff. If you sleep through it, you're going to miss the greatest show on earth. And I know we wanted to get into the Great Reset, Laura, something very near and dear to your heart. And as we were saying on the pre-show, we've all taken a lot of arrows in the back for this one. I can tell you how many times we've stuck our neck out on this and just been hit from so many angles. But I'll tell you this, we will be vindicated, because this is the future, and this is the human experience of all of us waking up.
So can you explain to the audience what exactly is the prison planet? Because the way I see it, it's basically karma, right? The karmic wheel of us returning here after life after life after life. We keep coming here, and then so going into transhumanism, I would believe that it would be a program within a program within a program, so you can never escape. So you'll be embedded into another program under this program. Am I right in saying
You're
that?
absolutely right. You're on the tip, David. If my book hadn't just come out this week, I'd think you'd have read the whole thing. And there's a chapter in there on the whole transhumanist agenda. Right. We're being taken into this. And once we're fully augmented into this system, then we're truly trapped in prison planet. So this is our one chance to break free of the shackles, and why understanding and knowing this stuff is so more vital now than it's ever been, because we are at the crux right now. This is one of, I would have to say, and I love history and have traveled all 7 continents, and we could talk about Antarctica later. I was just down there last year. This is the crux in all of human history. This is the Great Awakening, and this is when the human race finally collectively wakes up. That 100th monkey light bulb goes off, and we're just going to start grokking this stuff intuitively. Don't you think, Laura? Don't you see just more and more people waking up and totally understanding what we're talking about?
Absolutely. Yeah. And then, I tend to think about the fact that time, I wouldn't say is a total illusion, but when we look at the larger picture and like gray aliens, their agendas, abduction scenarios, EBEs, and all these different things, it seems like the modification programs of humans have caused them to become these beings that we consider to be alien, but yet they're trying to get their genetic material back in order to make up for maybe the choices that they're making in the here and now, that are steering them towards like transhumanism and AI. I don't, but that's more theoretical. I guess a few people might have agreed, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, and David, please chime in too. I mean, in some ways, we can physically build ourselves and eat the best nutrients and food and become this Superman that Nietzsche talked about the Übermensch, and I cover that in here in the fascism section about all the secret societies of Nazi Germany, which to me is just so fascinating. When I was down in Argentina 2 years ago, I was on the trail of trying to find out about the Fourth Reich and how they continue to exist. And they were totally into this whole notion of this master race. Well, the answer is we're all the master race. Any one of us, any race can do it. Just in the same way we can pollute our body and eat terrible food and become obese. It's all these choices that we make. And these choices also go to our decisions in life, but also what we choose to put our focus on. And one of the things we're all going to start to understand is that we have these innate human abilities. We just need to bring them out. And we could be, as some of the benevolent aliens have been described, as telepathic, as having telekinesis powers, being able to astral travel, being able to heal energetically. There's so many things. It's just a wide open book that we have the potential to become, but we just have to want it. And that's why these are esoteric subjects. They have just been sought out by those who really wanted to know it. And when people all start to understand something like this, the whole meaning changes and it becomes exoteric. When the whole population knows, it's no longer hidden anymore. But this is the Great Awakening, and all that has been hidden will be revealed. And it's a great time to be alive and just see it all happen. And I thank you guys for the contribution you're making, because every little bit helps.
So let me ask you this, Brad. So here we are at this crossroads, right?
Yeah.
We're here and we're going to see, which direction does humanity go? And you're positive on the direction we're going to go. You feel the Great Awakening is going to prevail. All light bulbs are going to turn on. We're going to go this direction. We're going to break away from transhumanism, or do you think it's going to be split? There are going to be people that fall into the transhumanism and people that awaken and save their souls, so to speak. I mean, is it going to go simultaneously to like a split in two different directions, or are you confident enough to say all of humanity is going to go into the one direction of awakening?
Well, that's a great question, David. And Laura at Stargate to the Cosmos, we were hanging out that night and having such a great time with our friends and talking about how deep the rabbit hole goes, including into exopolitics. And that is when you include aliens in the middle of this stuff, you start to get all the answers, as Bill Cooper said. When you bring in the malevolent ETs, the Archon Network, what they want with this planet, why they might be the ones terraforming us, you have the possibility that humans go in that direction. You also have the possibility that we shake off the shackles of this oppression and really, truly wake up to our full potential and join the benevolent ETs at the table. And this is absolutely what we want. And this is the trajectory of the human race. And this is the moment we've all been waiting for. And I do believe we've chosen this lifetime, these bodies. That's why so many people find this experience on Earth so strange, because we come from planets where it is all peace, love, and happiness. And we're living in the land of the lotus eaters, like the Buddha said, and just eating the lotus and being high and making love and watching the waterfall every single day and just in bliss. Then we come here to Earth, and this is the prison planet, and it is just stark in your face. The duality, everything coming at you so hard. And unless you are a strong fighter like you are, David, and I know you are, Laura, we've seen a lot of people that this has really beaten them down. So to answer your question, David, we are at a crossroads. Humanity could actually split into two geniuses, and one of those maybe become the inner terrestrials right here below us on this planet in the underground bases. There are people who I profile in my esoteric books, one of which is Dan Burish, and Carrie Cassidy is a good friend of mine. We talked about this last time I saw her in LA. He basically communicated with ETs that were us from our future, that were here to ensure that their timeline exists so they exist. Okay, so this is about as deep as the rabbit hole goes, and quite literally deep, because it goes into the deep underground military bases. And I think your listeners are quite savvy to the idea that there is a whole network of underground bases on this continent and elsewhere. So we could become two geniuses, the surface-dwelling planet and those that go underground. And according to the hybrids and some of the other time travelers, hybrids that have come back, they need our human DNA. You see, because this is a storehouse of DNA. This is a garden planet. This is a gem in the universe. And we're messing it up right now. So there are a lot of agendas and interests at heart to preserve this planet. And by doing so, preserve the human race. I mean, I've always thought that if we go to nuclear war or just start to annihilate ourselves, it's the humans that will suffer at their own folly more than anything else. But it'll be us that degrades to some stone age, like Einstein said. I don't know what weapons will be fought in World War III, but World War IV will be sticks and stones, because all of this could get called off, this whole Great Awakening. We have to prevent that.
Well, I was going to ask you, so when you say prison planet, I'm still stuck on this just for a second.
Sure.
And we're going to go in two different directions. And one can be transhumanism and the other, let's just say, spiritual ascension, would you say?
Yeah.
So it's one or the other. So one is going to go in a third dimensional route and go with the transhumanism route, right? But then the other would be based on faith, basically, on light energy and wanting to transcend into or ascend into a higher dimension than being stuck here in this dimension in the transhumanism route. Am I right in saying that?
You are right in saying that. And it wouldn't be the first time in our long storied history on this planet that the human race has morphed and changed in other ways. The difference now, David, is we're talking about technology that nobody saw coming. Nanoparticles that can barely even be seen with the eyes, that are little computers that can get into our bodies and stuff. So we're being challenged in a way that no humans, no generations have been challenged like this.
So transhumanism traps you even more.
Absolutely, it does.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like in our galactic history, with the Orion Wars and the sort of engineered Pleiadians that became the tall whites, there are glimpses from millions, billions of years ago where that happened. But on a human level, this level of modification, is pretty foreign, and it'll make more sense, I guess, when disclosure happens. I mean, what would you say? I mean, talking about disclosure, and David and I were talking about this in our last interview. There's many different types of disclosure. Some are going to be beneficial and some are just going to continue to lead us astray. What would you say the most ultimate disclosure would be that we need most right now?
What we're seeing right now is the drip, drip, drip. And anyone who's paying attention to all this, and I know you guys are and your listeners are, it's already been disclosed. It has been hidden in plain sight. Now it's out in the open, and the government agencies who have largely been suppressing this information are now the ones saying, yeah, of course we track UFOs. And how about this Israeli minister now saying too, we know there's ETs out there, so does your president, and they all know. They've been briefed from the beginning, but it's under national security. So it's this umbrella term that keeps the best stuff hidden from us, including the technology that could get us off of gas, oil, coal overnight. The free energy could be rolled out. The technology beyond your wildest dreams. I mean, keep in mind that Star Trek was based on humans 350 years in the future. Gene Roddenberry was sitting around the table of the Council of Nine taking notes, and they were communicating with humans in our future. And so now that's even less than 300 years from now. And we're a benevolent civilization who's using our technology to explore the world like the great explorers 500 years ago did. That's the future we want to see. And we want to preserve this gem of a planet too. And we want to preserve our bodies so we can have healthy children that don't need all this intoxication and forced V's and so many other things that are just totally unnecessary. And one of the final chapters in Beyond Esoteric is all about the bioterrain. and rethinking the whole idea of having to even take drugs. Because if you just get your body strong enough, you can pretty much fight off any disease. David, you're a professional athlete. You know that. I'm sure you rarely ever get sick. And you too, Laura. Yeah. So this is this is your way to avoid any of that. We pulled our bioterrain to such a point that look, it was flawed from the get-go. And I give the whole account of Louis Pasteur, who came up with the whole notion of pasteurization. Some things he did were great, but he was also considered the father of germ theory. And Louis Pasteur you could pretty much say the whole notion of vaccines and Western medicine, allopathic medicine, it all goes back to Louis Pasteur, the father of the germ theory. One germ, one solution. And Miss Mikovits was just here, and I asked one of the first questions, and she was just nodding her head. Yeah, it's all about the bioterrain. So there were other scientists at the time that said, no, Pasteur, it's all about the terrain. And one guy named Claude Bernard actually drank some cholera, water with cholera in it, and did not get sick. So your body, if it's at its ultimate point, nothing can really affect it too much. And we have the potential to live hundreds of years. Many of our starseed bodies come from ET civilizations that look just like us. You would not really even notice anybody on the street, maybe a bit taller sometimes, or this or that, but they come in all sizes and they look just like us. And they live hundreds of years. So when out in Switzerland, Billy Meyer was having interactions with Pleiadians, Semjay, this gorgeous knockout blonde, she looks like she's a supermodel, age 25 or something, asked her how old she was. 135. Yeah, well, we use holographic medicine. We use the med beds, which are these technologies that have been suppressed. Why? They don't want us living 150, 200 years. But we can actually do it. And I have a chapter in my other book, Modern Esoteric, Living to 200, and there are examples of humans living that long. So we can do the right things, but we're just so intoxicated as well. And part of the prison planet, I think this is part of the assault